Welcome everybody to Pop Kannon. This is episode 38, and if you noticed, I had to look down at my notes. If you're watching us on video, because we're back in video form.
What episode this is? We're so lost.
I'm lost.
What day of the week is it? What?
Nobody knows. COVID-19.
So, my name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
And I'm Sarah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, either via YouTube or one of your several streaming platforms that allows for us to enter your ear holes. Mm-hmm. So now that we're done with that, let's discuss what we're here to talk about. Sarah, you wanna tell the fine folk what we're talking about today?
So today we are going to talk about one of the newer Netflix original series, Locke and Key.
Yes.
Based off of the graphic novel of the same name. Graphic novel or comic?
Mm-hmm. It's a comic. It's an ongoing comic, but yeah.
All right, it's an ongoing comic.
The comic is written by Joe Hill.
Yeah.
And we only ever have Sarah on when we're discussing something related to Stephen King that involves children. So
that's true. And this does have a tie-in to it,
but apparently that was the motif, I guess. It just happened that way.
I'll take it. It's not horrible.
So the show is also executive produced by Carlton Cuse, which I didn't realize until the end of the first episode. And I texted Robert and I said, "Holy shit, dude, it's Carlton Cuse." He's done Lost. He's one of the showrunners and creators of Lost. So,
you love Lost.
Talking about being lost earlier, let's dig into something created by one of the dudes from Lost.
Yeah.
That was a good tie-in-ish.
We're getting, we here at Pop Kannon go for the good segue.
Anyway. So I had watched the show pretty much when it first came out.
Me too.
And because I was pretty excited about it because I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never read the comic, but I've seen the comic all the time when I worked at the bookstore that shall not be named. I saw it all the time. So I was excited to see this. I like Joe Hill's work. I believe we discussed that last time that we did.
Yeah. Last time I was here.
So what did you guys think of the show?
I liked it. I did. It kind of caught me off guard because the trailer originally didn't make me want to leap into it. Right? I didn't start watching it until last week. So I finished it maybe 4 hours ago. So
it's freshest in your head, probably.
Yeah. It's still digesting, but overall I think I really liked it. Couple issues. But yeah, overall positive experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I feel the same way as, both of you do. I didn't actually watch the trailer before I watched the show. Knew kind of a little bit because, I'm a fan of Joe Hill, but I hadn't read the comic. And the reason that I started watching it, I think it was either, the week it came out or the following week, because my friend Megan was watching it and she's like, it's interesting. She's like, I can't really decide if it's meant for kids or adults. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, what the heck? What else am I doing? And, I liked it overall. Didn't feel super passionate either way about it. I have some good things to say, some bad things to say, but it's not bad if you're looking for something to binge while you're in quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly interesting enough to keep your attention through that. And I mean, it's 10 episodes. And when I went to go rewatch it, I was like, shit, they are hard hour-long episodes. Because I was thinking, if they're 44 minutes, I probably could have rewatched the entire season.
Actually,
Yeah.
they did drop it down. I noticed
It did. It
started-
heavy
they started
towards
and
the
longer.
end of the yeah.
So I rewatched 1 through 3, and then 9 and 10 today. Like I watched 9 and 10 today. So
Okay.
just to like, because there's a lot
There's a lot.
that they pack in here, and then some episodes take a lot of time in stuff that winds up not mattering, and then some episodes we kind of breeze through some stuff.
Yeah.
But I really like a lot of the concepts that they were building. It just it started off, I feel like it started off really broad, like this could be anything, and then it became very specific by the end.
Absolutely.
And it has been officially renewed for a second season.
Right.
So I'm hoping that in that second season we play a little bit more, because there are definitely some of the keys. I wrote down all of the keys and what they do. There's definitely some keys that are like, oh, that only made sense in that episode.
Yeah.
Because or we didn't even know about them until they needed them, and then they were a plot device, and we moved on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
Well,
they
like,
left
it definitely
a
can't
lot-
be that.
I think that they left a lot on the table, and they left a lot just like matter of fact. I know, just kind of like, I guess if we're gonna just get into it, I'll segue my way into one of my complaints was that there really was no, they focused so much on like the family unit and the kids that there was absolutely no backstory with the house and the keys specifically. And so I was like, had been doing a little bit of research just kind of on how the series deviated from the comics, having not read the comics myself. And I think when I found out that like Joe Hill really explores the history of them in the comics early on, I was like, well, I wish we freaking got that. like I'm just thinking, like, if I was even a teenager, as dumb as they kind of are in the series, like, if I found these magic keys in my in my father's childhood house that I didn't know existed, I'd probably be like, oh, where did these come from?
Right.
Like, at least
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Not
The-
like, oh, let's just use them.
the craziest thing about that is like the immediate acceptance of like, oh yeah, fucking magic, sweet. Anyway. And then later on, I believe it's in episode 9 where they're like, we have to tell our friends we need help. And everybody's like, it's way too overwhelming for everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, so are these kids super mature? Or
Right.
like where
Or
is
is it just
this-
convenient, right? Like, is it a convenient plot device?
Yeah.
And you had mentioned how you couldn't tell if it was for adults or children.
That's exactly what I thought.
I
throughout
don't
the
know.
whole
I don't
show.
know who the target audience, because there's so many times, and it's one of my favorite things about the show, is that there's like a moment in time where it could either go straight horror or it could fall into whimsy.
Yeah.
And most of the time they fall whimsical, which I thought was sweet and compelling because it's not what I expect. I thought it was going to be more or less a horror haunted house kind of show.
Yeah.
So when they're doing magical shit, I was like, oh, well, this is kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
And then she goes into her head and tries to murder her fear. Which conceptually I think is great. But like the embodiment of that fear, and then there's just flat out murder happening sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, oh, I murdered a kid. You know, whatever.
Oh.
Threw him in front of a train in a train station. Yeah, fuck it. Anywho,
That
where's these
that
keys?
was
Like,
awesome. That
That
was
was cool.
awesome for me because I was hoping it was more.
right. Well, no, I'm
that-
not saying that that's.
Me
I'm not saying I
too.
didn't like that scene. It's just it was playing to two different. It couldn't
Yeah.
make up its mind as
Yeah.
to whether or not it was sweet and refreshing or horror.
Yeah.
And I think that the comic probably lends
Horror.
itself more to the horror.
yeah.
Especially like knowing Joe Hill's writing,
Right.
you know, he tends to do horror. I mean,
Yeah.
Heart-Shaped Box, Nosferatu, like whatever. And for me, when I was watching this series, like, I definitely leaned towards, like, more towards Jordan, where I was expecting and hoping for a little bit more of the horror, especially because a lot of people were comparing it to, like, The Haunting of Hill House. Like, oh, well, like, if you liked this.
That's
So
what
I was
I drew comparisons from.
And for me, I think a lot of the disappointment for this show, for me personally, there's a lot of parallels to how I was disappointed with Netflix's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because I read those comics and they're freaking creepy. And I watched that first season and I was like, where's the horror? And so I think that's how I felt for this. Like, I still enjoyed it, but I was like, I think they played it a little too safe. And I don't know if you guys, like, looked into this at all, but I was looking up that this was like 8 years in the making. Like, people bought rights to this forever ago.
This
and
is the
nobody
third
did.
incarnation of something based off of that comic book.
Really?
Yeah. And so I watched a trailer that aired, I don't remember if it was like 2012 or 2014. They actually played it at Comic-Con because I think it was, I don't know if it was 20th Century Fox had bought the rights to it. They ordered a pilot or whatever, and then they didn't want it. And so they're like, well, we'll play it at Comic-Con, see if anybody has interest in it. And nobody was interested in it. But that trailer, like, watch it. It is flat out horror. Like, that reminds me of The Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
But I think I like that trailer. I was like, yes, that's what I wanted.
Well, and like I get playing it a little bit safer on Netflix, just because a lot of everybody has fucking Netflix, so
Mass
you
appeal.
want to generalize it a little bit, I think, to cast the widest net, and then still give enough for anyone who's an adult that doesn't happen to be watching it with their 13-year-old. But I imagine this played very well with, like, late middle school, early high school kids. This had to have fucking crushed that market.
I even feel like it probably did well with like late high school.
Yeah, but
I feel like that's
I feel like
the
somewhere
target
in
audience.
between, because you kind of want to watch or read up. So like anywhere from like 11 to 16, this probably fucking nailed it.
Yeah. Because there wasn't anything too scary. There wasn't anything like sexually explicit that like a middle schooler you wouldn't want watching. It was very safe. I don't know if I would go as far as to call it sterile horror, but totally unrelated question. Is Netflix and the the marketing and mass appeal of films, is that going to affect genres at all? I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
It's possible.
Might just be
because I mean, ratings do that in movies.
No,
like,
yeah.
An R-rated horror versus a PG-13 horror. Like, this is what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've been watching a lot of horror movies on Shudder, so I'm like in that mindset. Horror.
I just always gravitate towards dark stuff, and this played a little more like
Shocking.
whimsical Harry Potter for me. And I'm not even like crazy about Harry Potter. I enjoy it, but like I don't like go head over heels for stuff like that. And this kind of was like that to me.
I just wish it leaned into one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy, like, the magic, great. Give me all the magic. You know, the horror, cool.
No, I like magic. I don't like the Harry Potter-esque, like, whimsicality of it.
Well,
It's Leviosa.
Yeah, like...
No, but I conceptually, a lot of the stuff is cool. Like most of the keys have a purpose, and I wish some of them were obviously real to explore what that would be.
Yeah.
But some of them, the creation of them, we got none of the history on the keys, and that's where you're just kind of like, okay, like when you find out their father in the past and his friends were the keeper of the keys and all this stuff, you're like, okay, but still, where the fuck?
Yeah.
Did
Where
they
did
come?
they get them from?
Right.
Right. Or like, why do they exist? Are they there? Is it like chaotic good, or are the keys chaotic evil?
Right. And
We
then
just
you
found
have-
these keys one day, and we
Right.
started putting them in each other.
Somebody had to forge them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, especially like when there's a specific one for the creepy other dimension door in the sea cavern, and
The
then the other
Omega
one is
key.
like, you could explore your brain, you know?
Well,
Like, who did they all get created at the same time, or like what the fuck is happening here?
Yeah.
So I had initially gone into this thinking like, oh, well, episode 9 is going to be an entire flashback episode. And it was. It just was not what I wanted. And that's...
Really?
For the flashback, yeah. Yeah, I
Well,
wanted the origin of the keys.
Right, okay.
I
Yep.
wanted how they found them and how it took over for them.
Right.
Like-
But we didn't even get that. So
And I think it was, and I don't know if this is wrong for me to say, but it's like the keys are more interesting than the characters. Like,
Yeah.
And I think it might have just been how they were written. It might have just been some of the dialogue, but it's like usually we talk about what's our favorite character. I really don't have one, I don't think, because I was trying to think of it, but it's like Kinsey's really freaking annoying. Like, I cannot stand her when she kills her fear and like with that stupid music box. And it's like, also, who the fuck goes to 2 different guys and is like, why don't you both date me? Like, what is this, Mormonism, like reversed? No. Like,
Yeah, that
Like-
was the, I think, of all the things they did in this show, and this is a show that included a demon taking the form of a person that they know, coming back from the dead, changing bodies multiple times, and having sex with literally everyone. That was the most fucked up thing that happened in the show when Kinsey was like, why don't I just date fucking both of you? And they
I
were
can't
like,
choose.
and that was when that happened in the show. I literally was like, dude, what the fuck?
I was like, what?
Yeah, that was so
literally
weird.
like
And I was
a-
like, wait, are we on like some sort of threshold of like post-feminism here where
Yeah.
she's just like, no, you both work for me now?
let's just have a love commune.
Yeah,
We all
I
just
didn't know,
date each other.
didn't know what that was about. But
Me neither.
But you had mentioned favorite characters, and I enjoy most of the characters in this show. And they made me care about some of them that I didn't think that I was going to.
Like who?
Especially the kid that murdered their dad.
Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was
He,
like,
think,
I was
was
like,
the most
fuck, he's fucking
sympathetic.
crazy. This is they're just like, he's just evil. And then you get like the whole story on him, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
They did a lot of work to make you care about that kid. And then they fucking used one of the keys and accidentally killed him forever.
Well,
and he's trapped.
He's a ghost.
He's trapped at the house now, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
So
like,
he's probably
obviously
gonna come
we'll get to
back.
see him. Yeah.
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 He's just going to be chilling with great granddad. What's his face?
Yeah, out in the he just hangs out in the graveyard,
Yeah.
but isn't scary.
But he isn't scary.
That was another moment where they could have gone like, oh
Dark.
shit, because
Yeah.
that whole ramp up, I was like, oh no.
But that
And then
was
he's just-
nice. That was a nice, unexpected thing for
right?
me.
And
was
that's
cute.
that's
It was
exactly
cute.
that's exactly the moment one of the moments that I mean where there was like, we're right on that line, and what's gonna happen, and then it's just like, oh, it's fun and happy. Oh,
Yeah.
well, all right.
Oh.
he
well,
just
that's
met.
cool.
He just met his great grandpa.
Well, that's nice.
And he found
Bodhi-
out that his dad used the keys too.
right,
And his Uncle Duncan.
and Bodhi is the same kid from It
It.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
That's why I said there's a reason I'm here, man.
It's great. And like when I realized that was him, I was like, oh shit. It's the
dude-
kid.
And dude, that kid could act.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed his character. Legit.
I did too. I wasn't I wasn't nearly annoyed by him at all.
Yeah, and normally I'm like annoyed by child actors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually found Bodhi to probably like, even though he just is a little kid, and so like he's like that young annoying little brother,
Frenetic energy.
I don't know. He was like he was one of probably like my favorites because like he didn't really like he made a mistake. Like he made the first mistake, and it was a huge mistake losing the key to Dodge, but he spent the whole time trying to like rectify it, and like I feel like his siblings Kinsey and Tyler, they just like made their own mistakes, and they're like, you're little, like, no, we can't trust you anymore. But it's like you're making equally big mistakes like over and over. And
Bodhi tried to fix a mistake so heavily that he put a fucking bear trap on his bed. All right, like,
and that's a moment too that could have been gone one way or the other.
He could have lost an arm.
And there was gore.
What if he lost his arm?
Oh, that's the crossover we needed.
Right,
too soon.
But I think honestly, my favorite concept in the show was the head key.
Yes.
The physical embodiment of your mind that you can go in and fuck around with, meddle, look around. And it just like the entire time that's happening, like, is mine more like Bodhi's or more like Kinsey's? Like, is it an arcade with a trampoline
mall?
and video games? Or is it like super compartmentalized as a mall, which is crazy? With little stores that have certain memories in them and shit. Like, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking about like, what would my door be?
Yeah,
I was trying to figure that out too. I don't know.
I don't know which door has had more effect on me. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah. I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because it's a very interesting concept that I've never seen explored before.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
And then the anywhere key, obviously, where if you've seen a door, you can go through it at will.
Which is cool.
And like, I loved learning the rules of that, where Bodhi has ice cream, but then he can't go to the Eiffel Tower.
Have you ever seen a door at the Eiffel Tower?
Like, that was great. But what I didn't like, I think, at the beginning of the season was when he doesn't meet the echo, he hears the echo. Mm-hmm. That really could have been dragged out. Because the first time we see her face, I'm like, oh, well, that sucked.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And it really bugged me.
I was like, oh, we're not even going to... Oh, it's just a fucking person. Cool.
Yeah.
She lives there? Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to go through the show to get the answer, but like, at first you're like, huh? You know, like, how? Like, there's no answers to that until the very end, which made it like super uncomfortable. Like, they bought a house and there was a woman living in their fucking well.
We're trying to redo the ring, guys. It's fine.
The matchstick key, which is like super effective.
Yeah.
It's like a strike anywhere match.
Literally.
Yeah, but like it, like not even, you don't just get a flame, you get an engulfing flame. Like,
And like, was that the only key that we saw? Because I was trying to think, because that one didn't necessarily need like a keyhole, right?
no, yeah, you just use
Because like
that on anything.
the head key you need to like stick, but that one just like woof,
You just touch anything, a book, the stove,
the cell walls,
plunge it into your chest, you know, whatever.
So, speaking of that, did we ever get an explanation about their keyhole scars and why they were all in their chests?
I don't think so. I mean, I assumed it's like a branding thing, equivalent of like slicing your hand open with the broken bottle.
Yeah, I think it was
hands,
more of a
but-
brand, and they probably did it with the matchstick key. And I think it was just so they all signified that they were the keepers of it.
Oh.
But that wasn't. But that was just purely like my assumption based
Yeah.
off of like other like coming of age friendship things.
Yeah, because they like, I know that it was like a mystery. Like, how do they all have the same scar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
then
Ellie had
It just kind of got answered, and we were moving past it. We're out. We're done
Yeah.
with it. Moving on. I thought you were going to ask about their friend that murdered himself at the beginning of the show to kick everything off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He bailed real quick.
Yeah.
Because he was the smartest of them, but he wasn't strong enough to deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is basically the exact same way that one kid in It 2 killed himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
He couldn't do it, but he had all the answers, and that was at the very end.
Full circle, man.
Well, I know
it.
I know he had said something like, well, he had hidden them and no one was going to be able to use the mind key on him. I'm like, but why wouldn't he hide them and then go into his brain and pull out where he hid them so he didn't know?
Yeah. Or what if
and
you
then no one would know.
Or hide the keys in your mind.
He didn't have the mind key.
Oh.
Ellie, right? The mom.
No, but didn't they say
she had the mind key.
But didn't they say he hid all of them?
No, I think
he didn't.
A couple people
hid
some.
The rest of them.
Oh,
they split them up to hide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. It just seems silly that you're gonna hide them in the house.
Yeah, their father had the Anywhere key and the Omega key. Ellie had the mind key and the identity key, which we didn't know about until the very end, and it was super convenient, barely an inconvenience. And then, and then he had the matchstick key, and he hid the rest of them in the house. Mm-hmm. So because there's
pianos,
a multitude
vacuum
of the
cleaner. I don't know why you would hide a key in a vacuum.
I like that the one was in the painting in the pocket.
Yeah. That was cool.
He was like, that'll work.
Put it in the pocket.
It's a very textured painting. It's fine. It's totally fine.
No one will notice. Everything's cool.
Mixed media.
I liked that the keys whispered to them to call out to where they were.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And then I thought it was super muddy that adults couldn't remember anything.
That was literally my next point, because I was trying to think about this, because you have Nina, the mom, just nothing phases her, nothing remembers. She doesn't remember anything. Duncan doesn't remember anything, but you find out that's because he took his memories and is let me put these in the garden using this key.
Sure.
What?
Yeah. The one use of that key.
But then Ellie remembers. Mr. Fireman, he clearly remembered. I forget his name. But the guy in the beginning, he remembered. So it's and I mean, obviously Nina started to remember when she started drinking. So I don't know what that's a metaphor for, but it means alcoholism leads to adventure.
Not wrong.
Not the message
magic.
Not entirely wrong either. But
not
I'm
the
glad
message
you
we
mentioned
wanted.
the mom.
But
Take
the
a
one
couple
we deserved.
shots and see what you see, man.
I'm glad you mentioned the mom, because for me, she was the rock bottom of this show.
Oh, boy.
In the worst way.
I'm rubbing my face.
Yeah.
Oh God.
From the very beginning, I just was I don't know why she's acting like this. And then I was oh, maybe it's part of the whimsy of the house. And then you're just oh, never mind. The entire time they're doing the final episode big battle scene in her home, she's on a date with a cop. So
There's always a cop when you need one.
Rather than going to her AA meeting after she dumped out the quarter-filled bottle of gin that's been wrecking her life for a month.
Dude, artisanal gin. You don't just waste that shit.
And they tried to have a hearted moment where she decides what to do with it. But at that point, I was so done with that character. I was fucking drink it and slit your wrists. Make it happen.
But it's
let's get some steaks in this motherfucker.
And I hate to because I feel the default is to blame the mother, because we see that all the time with serial killers. Let's blame the mom. But it's
But
she's basically a stay-at-home mom, because clearly it alludes to the fact that her and Rendell fixed up and flipped houses or something like that. But it's she's clearly not really employed aside from like working on this house, which I'm sorry, how are you paying the property taxes? How do you pay the heating bill when none of the house is insulated? Come on.
And
I'm
it has
a homeowner.
original
I know
floors
these
for the
things.
1800s.
Exactly. So it's like, how are you so like absent? Like, how does all this stuff happen and you don't even know?
But you know what she did see? The pink in her daughter's hair. So
But
she
she
is
liked
attentive.
it. She liked it. So
Well, she's cool, Mom.
she's
Cool. Mom.
She's
Yeah.
drinking gin at 10 a.m., Mom.
I'm a cool mom. Get some virgin daiquiris.
And I know, and it took me a while to remember where I'd seen the actress before. She was in Scandal.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Yeah, with that show with Kerry Washington that I think was on. It feels like it was an ABC show. She was one of the characters on that, and she wasn't bad in that show. She had a decent, like, we watched the first couple seasons of it, and then it kind of jumped the shark. But it was good. She wasn't bad in it. So then when I finally was like, that's the lady from fucking okay, cool. And then just the rest of the season, I was just like, I didn't actually know her. I just
We don't know each other that well.
yeah, she wasn't like, he's adopted, that kind of
Her
thing.
whole performance annoyed me, but I also feel like the character wasn't written well at all.
I agree.
No, she's just
So-
paper thin.
Yeah, like she was just there because they couldn't do a kids show and not have a parent.
They
parent
couldn't be
figure
orphans because if they were orphans, that would be too similar to a series of unfortunate events.
That's true. That's true. It could have been their kooky uncle that doesn't remember anything. Could have been their caretaker. He was flipping the house off for whatever reason.
Aloha.
Yeah,
But it led to one of the funniest moments in the show. But what was that moment? He doesn't remember anything.
Right.
So why is he angry with it?
yeah.
Exactly.
Is he
that's like a
mad
hole.
because he can't remember? Like that
Is he-
wasn't explained.
Was he flipping off Nina through the house?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Like,
maybe.
was he upset that he wasn't allowed to live there? Like, what was the fucking deal
Yeah.
with that moment? There was a moment where it was like, what is he? Maybe I thought he was going to figure into it somehow,
Yeah,
but he definitely didn't. And then at the
'Cause-
very end, when they're going to dump Rendell's ashes off of the same thing that he dumped his 3 friends off of, so there's 4 of their friends off of that cliff, by the way. Like Nina and Bodhi walk up together, and it's obvious who they are.
Yeah.
And then 3 adult bodies walk up, and I'm like, who is the? Oh, it's the uncle. Like, I didn't even realize
Yeah.
he would be there
Yeah.
for that.
yeah.
I was like, oh shit! It got me twice because in
Yeah.
the first viewing, I didn't know who that was, and then I was like, oh, it's
Like,
the
what?
uncle. And then in the repeat viewing, it did the same thing to me.
Yeah. Because he and I don't know if that's just one of those things where Netflix assumed that there was going to be a second season to flesh out some of these other things.
Yeah.
Duncan, okay, so we agree, I think, that the history of the keys needs to be fleshed out.
Yeah. Just make that episode 1 of season 2 right off the
Yeah,
bat.
just a freaking
I'll take 4
flashback.
episodes of the Keys history.
You know what? Put it in black and white or sepia so we know that it's a freaking flashback. And more of Duncan in the house. Why again? Why does he have such negative feelings about the house? Why is he glad to push it off on somebody else when he doesn't remember his childhood?
So there was a hot minute here where I was watching it, and the reason I thought Duncan couldn't remember, and then we got the memory of the bottle, I was like, what if there was more to that memory beforehand where Duncan went crazy and killed their friends and they pulled his memory and they fixed him or something, and
Any
You know,
amount of that
that's-
would have been cool, yeah.
yeah.
Because
So-
why else pull your memories?
Yeah.
Of all people, and he seemed such Like, he wasn't even that central to the keepers of the keys.
That was the only time we saw that child actor in any of those scenes.
Yeah. So, like,
But, like,
did he
even
witness
that-
something else? Did somebody remove those memories, like, for him? Like, and he didn't know? Because why else would you do that?
There's only one memory they needed to get rid of in his brain.
Yeah.
Why take his entire childhood away from him?
They were like
Or is
sitting
that,
there
like,
the one
part of
day
it?
and they were like, oh, you know what? We should just like reverse Alzheimer's this guy. Like all of a sudden, like he just doesn't remember his childhood.
Yeah. I thought that was
So-
very strange.
I don't
That's
know.
why, and exactly what you're saying is the reason why I thought he was going to figure into the end somehow.
Yeah, because
I
like
thought he was going to have like the answer, or like he would be like, I've got a key, I've got the last key. Like,
but it's like, why even set up those dominoes if you're not even gonna like knock it
Push
over
them.
or use it to knock over something else?
Mm-hmm.
Why set up
completely-
the dominoes if you're not going to pay for the pizza?
But I did like what was the British kid's name?
Oh, Scott.
Scott
Dude,
with
he
one
was-
T.
Scott
He was great.
one's tea.
He
I
was,
liked him. I liked him a lot.
I
liked
felt
his character a
bad
lot.
for him because
Yeah. Oh,
he
they-
he had such a hard on for Kinsey,
Yeah.
and she just shot him down for Gabe, the real boy.
I can't believe, even like for me, sarcastically going to see Band of Horses would have been amazing.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like I've got to see Band of Horses.
And like she was right there. It's like, dude, just you're not paying for it. Like just
Right,
enjoy
just
the
come
night
to
with
the
your
fucking
friends.
show, dude.
You could literally go
Oh,
into your
but
head
her
any other night and kill your fear.
Her fear. But her fear stopped her. She's afraid of horses.
No, she's afraid of Band of Horses. Just the cover band.
Just a cover.
He
On
was
the
super, but he was super funny.
he was.
He was one of the best parts of the show in just grounding it and making it like relatable and fun.
I was
He
gonna
just
say
wants to
he's
make
the only
movies.
character that I feel like acted like a normal person would
Yeah.
in most of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were in the caves and he was like kind of hesitant,
Like,
and then
we're
when he
good.
saw the water, he was like, "All right, let's bail. Like we just gotta
fuck my
go."
equipment, dude. We gotta
Yeah.
go.
Dude, I felt so bad for him. She's like, you could just get new equipment. It's like, with what money?
That was a
Right.
great scene. That was a
Yeah.
great written
That
and
was
edited
like,
and acted
scary.
scene.
Yeah, the ticking clock of the fucking tide.
Yeah.
Like that
I
was
like
awesome.
that. The ticking clock. Wait, what did you say?
The ticking clock of the tide.
I like it.
And I knew that was the character. Like when I started watching it, I texted Jordan. I was like, "Dude, you have to watch this show."
Because it's
I was
got...
like, "You're gonna relate to somebody in this show, but I can't say anything else."
Oh, the one person who just wants to make movies.
So badly, and everything keeps getting so fucked up on him. And rather than pack it in, he's just like, "No, it's cool, mate. We'll just fucking figure it out later." Like he just fucking rolled with it so hard.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
know,
in
she
post.
completely ruined his one shot at the decapitation scene in his movie, and he just was like, "It's cool. I still want to kiss you. It's fine."
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do it in post.
Right? Yeah.
We'll fix it.
And I thought it sucks that group was like criminally underwritten, but there really
Yes.
wasn't as much. There wasn't too much time to get into it. You got enough of what they were supposed to do.
But why
Yeah.
couldn't those people be the ones that we called
Helping
on
at
at the
the
end?
I know.
Because we spent some time with them.
A good
guess
deal
we-
amount. I mean,
I guess
Yeah.
because we needed to set up the villains for next season. So let's.
Yeah.
Eden.
And the table at the very end that Gabe and Eden are eating at is the same table that Dodge was at early in the season eating.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
The same restaurant and everything.
I wish
So
I
it's
had
like-
your metabolism.
And then upon rewatch of episodes 9 and 10, there are so many clues beating you over the head with what Gabe
Really?
actually is. Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on it.
They,
Maybe just because I wasn't like thinking that. I was
you
more.
weren't thinking like Gabe was just a kid that
He was just
added
there.
to it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
should have been the first fucking clue.
Because like they just briefly like I remember because I started to I watched the season early, started to rewatch it, but I didn't get through it all. But it was like, yeah, they just introduced him. Oh, he's new too. Mm-hmm. It's just like very
Nobody asks a
innocuous, very
question.
like he's new.
Yep.
New people
And
come to the
because they
school
did
all
it
the time.
Because they did it so under the radar, that should have been the first red flag.
I know.
Yeah.
But then in the last couple episodes, he when they go to actually throw who they think is Dodge into the black door, when they come back into the house, or he's the first one to ask a question like 3 times in scenes leading to that, which is a red flag. And then when they're there about to do it, he says something or has a look on his face. I don't remember exactly which one it was. And they come back to the house after the fact, and he looks at Kinsey and Tyler, and he's just like, "You guys were great." And then Tyler offers to feed everybody because they helped him with something. And the first person to answer is Gabe, and he's just like, "I am starving." So it's like all of these little fucking things, and then they go back to the conversation he has with Kinsey, and there's a lot of like the same thing that Dodge is saying to everybody else in that sequence as well.
Huh.
Interesting.
I was like, shit. If you're, I mean, I don't know how much harder you could watch it than being like,
Yeah. Well,
but
because even like
it's there.
going to like the scene, because like I just the whole thing like in the cafeteria with Eden and the music box, and like how like sadistic Gabe and Kinsey were getting, like that made me so uncomfortable. But like,
yep,
Gabe got so much enjoyment. And notice how like even like talking about like reactions to like, and how people don't like how Scott had a normal reaction to finding out with magic. Oh my god! But then Gabe's like just with the magic box, it was almost like, oh, okay, like let's do this. Not like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
and I
or
think,
that's not magic's not real.
I'm fairly certain she handed it to him too.
Yeah, she did.
Which is one of the rules, is that Dodge can't do anything with the keys unless it's handed to him by one of them.
Yep.
And that's why he wouldn't let it go. Because he finally got another one, and he was like, fucking let's do it. Yeah, it was great. I wish
that scene actually annoyed me a little bit because of the way he was acting. But in retrospect,
right,
it's not annoying anymore because...
Nope. But in the moment, you're like, this is going on way too long.
Yeah, like that's too extreme. And like, I totally I was like Scott in that moment. I was like, this is like going above and beyond. Like, this was kind of about like revenge, and now you're taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. And for a minute, I thought Kinsey was going to like become this girl at some point and enter like they were going to find like a time key or something.
Right.
Like, and she like traps herself somehow and she's in like a loop. But
introducing time to the show would have been fucking insane.
I would have been there for it though.
Right.
Like,
if one of the kids was like their dad in a different body or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Whoa. I mean, stranger things have happened in that show, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could just have like the sex drive of like a cheetah.
whoa.
Just changing what you look like and going to do the next person.
The identity key was the most unfortunate key.
But like, and I was thinking about that too, and it bothered me in the moment. It's like, with the identity key, it's like, I wouldn't assume that you'd be able to like force somebody else to look like what you wanted them to look like. You know what I mean? Like,
it's only because you used the key on them that you could decide. Like,
yeah, it's like, it's so weird. It's like, it's one thing for me to be like, oh yeah, I want to look like Robert today. Not
Right.
like, oh, you're gonna look like this person, and then never be able to change back and go off into the ether.
I think from what I got from the shot, it was like just her eyes, and you could see Dodge in the reflection of her eyes. So I thought of it almost like, oh, you're looking at me, and now you're focused on me. So when I turn the key, you're going to look like this.
Oh.
So that's just the way that I interpreted the scene.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting. But speaking of keys that only had one use, how about the cabinet key?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
the Bob the
Fixes
Builder
broken
key.
things in the cabinet.
Yeah,
Not people.
not
Not
ashes,
people.
not ashes.
Cannot bring ashes to human form.
No.
Otherwise, throw it in there. It'll fix
But it'll
your mugs,
fix your urn.
your ceramics, your general
stuffed
household
whale.
ceramics. Yep. That one was a thing.
What's the thing?
You could
The
put
Echo-
things in it too,
Yeah.
Storage. It's practical.
like the other keys. You could just lock in there, and no
Yeah.
one's allowed to get it.
Unless if they
The-
took that one key.
The echo key, which is probably the most unexplained key in the whole thing.
Thank you.
What is an echo?
It's just like that's the one to get into the well house, right? Like that's the well house key? Or no?
But that's also the one that she made the wish on and got the monster that used to be her childhood boyfriend back.
That's
And was
true.
anybody else uncomfortable that the old woman was hugging
I'm
the
raising my
the
hand.
teenager?
I'm raising my hand.
Okay.
Both hands up.
Yeah, yeah.
very-
She was 30 years removed from high school. 25. We'll be nice. I'll say we're at least 25
30.
years
Let's just
removed
go 30.
from
Bump it up. Bump it up.
and you're hugging what he used to look like.
I was like,
Also, statistically speaking, it's not like they would have really worked out, I'm sure.
No.
They would have
He
gone to
just-
different colleges.
he just stays.
She's
at-
really
at the-
hung up on something that just couldn't ever happen.
Yeah. His music
Aside from the
career.
fact that her boyfriend murdered 3 people.
Yeah,
you know,
What can
that
you do?
tends
But
to
she
put-
misses him.
Right.
Homicide tends to put a damper on my feelings for people.
Love conquers all, and time heals all wounds. When you put those together, your boyfriend's still a demon in the future.
Who murdered people? Your friends.
I thought it was funny when it was just the teacher with his cell phone camera out on the porch.
At the door?
Such
Yeah,
an
and
old
he-
guy thing.
And like he takes the photo and you hear the click of the shutter, and I'm like, that's such an old guy thing to do with your phone, like to forget that your phone's on like loud.
He had
with
the,
your
he had the
ringer
sound on. Such an old guy thing to have the sound on.
I know.
I haven't heard the camera shutter on my phone in years.
I know. I forgot what it sounds like.
Right. And then you heard it in the show. Is that an old... I mean, everything was present day. The technology seemed to be appropriate for the most part.
The cars were a little old for the teenagers, but that's standard.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Although for a boarding school.
So I very much liked the old guy. I can't remember his name now.
The teacher.
Yeah.
I forget his name too.
I liked that
Joe.
character. Joe. And there was a moment where I was super nervous that he was going to have something to do on like a sinister scale for this, because he's pushing these kids. And I was like, I said to Amanda in our first watching of it, I was like, if he has something to do with this on the negative side, I'm gonna be so fucking angry with this show. Because it was so obvious that he would have been like, I was actually pulling the strings all along, children. I'm your principal, and I'm in charge of you outside of this. Like, that would have sucked so bad.
I would have been like, oh well, they would have explained it by having him like, I created the keys.
Right.
That's what I thought too, and I was just like, I'm so glad they didn't do that.
I'm the reason we killed your father. Like, something horrible, and like I was really glad that wasn't.
He was
the thing.
just a nice guy.
He was just a nice dude trying to help out. And
Dude, they Ben Urick'd him.
Yeah. And I appreciated his character a lot.
Yeah.
Because like when you think about what he actually tried to do for them before he met his incredibly violent, untimely death.
That
He was
was
like
got
nice.
no justice.
he
No
was like
justice at
the
all.
Mr. Feeney of the school.
He like the kid gets into a fist fight, and then rather than like talk down to him, he's like, I actually used to fight back in the day. You know? Like, that was super
Got
cool.
like the shit beat out of me or whatever.
Yeah.
I like plants.
That was awesome. I liked him a lot.
He was
and I
he
felt
was a
bad.
cool character.
I felt bad that we lost him in the way that we did, because they put a bag over his fucking head and said he killed himself. You know. And then in the next scene, Ellie shoots shoots Dodge, and that was the least violent thing. Like the actual gunshots were like, oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He
moving
like
on.
barely got any blood.
No blood.
And then he
barely.
sat
I
up
think
and he's like, I'm an echo. You know echoes can't die. And I was like, do we? Do we know that echoes can't die?
I
Because
didn't
I
know
don't
that.
think
It was in the
ever
memo.
implied.
Nothing
It was
was
in the memo.
implied. It was in the memo.
I was like, did I fall asleep during an episode? So I feel like even this show would have benefited from an entirely momentum halting Netflix flashback episode.
Yeah, I agree.
although those are always my least favorite episodes of every show.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need them for the
Yeah.
exposition.
They're over here proving our point.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of like exposition dumps.
Yeah.
Specifically Ellie when she goes back into her brain, because that's really what the brains are. The mind key is for, is to like, I'm gonna tell you all about everything that used to happen, and then we're gonna move forward. Which I thought was cool to write it in there that way, as opposed to just having a character going, "This is the situation."
Yeah.
But she goes back in time, or they go back into her brain, and she's watching herself do, and it just was, I don't know, it was like a 10-minute scene of her just like explaining everything. Yeah. And that was why, what the hell? Oh, that was, I also had, in between watching this show, I've also watched The Girl on the Third Floor, which is like another house horror thing. And that's why in that movie I was like, I can't wait for the last 30 minutes of this so I could get answers and get the fuck out of here. Can't wait for all this shit to fall into place. I'll know what's going on and we'll be done with it. Like, that's where I was at.
It was a good movie. I mean, whatever. But
Absolutely.
Didn't see it.
it's on Netflix. You should watch
I
it.
will have to watch it.
Starring CM Punk.
CM Punk. Which is why we watched it.
The wrestler. The wrestlers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You guys are sticking to brand.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to, you know. One character that I wish we got way more of, because it was super interesting to me, was the girl who was like, drove herself crazy.
Who was stuck in her own head?
Stuck in her own head, and I'm so mad
Dude!
that she was in a scene for 15 minutes.
My mind was blown.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even, like, so basically, because before, like, we found out about her, like, I kind of, like, had wondered, like, what happens if, like, somebody comes up to you and takes
Pulls
the
the key.
fucking key out of your head? Well, now we know. It's like,
She's
you become
like
a vegetable.
mute now.
Yeah.
Because, like, well, like,
Catatonic?
yeah, because you think about it, it's like almost like a shell. Like when they're left, like when Bodhi goes into his little arcade box, it's like just standing there, like,
Yeah. Super creepy.
Incredibly
to happen
creepy.
upon that.
but that was an awesome, like, character, super, super interesting. And I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And she was integral to figuring more out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what
That's-
she had in her brain was like a time capsule, basically.
And that's really why Dodge wanted the head key.
Yeah.
That was the other than the anywhere key, that was the most important key in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It certainly wasn't the Crown of Shadow key,
Yeah, what the fuck was that even about?
which apparently was forged for the sole purpose of falling into evildoers' hands.
Oh, and it's so devastating, but we can fight back the shadows by manipulating light. Whoa.
The only so
Like-
the coolest thing about that, because that was such a fucking, it was probably super cool in the comic book.
That was a well
Like
done
art-
scene, I think.
It was
in the show.
cool, but underwhelming for the lead up.
Right.
Yeah.
But my favorite part about that is that Bodhi's not lightsaber came back to help him.
Yeah.
Like, that was cool because he was using it earlier in the season, running around the house trying to.
And then he's like, "Oh, we're gonna need better equipment." or something.
And then that turned out to be the fucking thing, which I thought was great.
That was cool.
And then he put the matchstick key on top of it to double it up, which I thought was pretty cool. But also be very careful. Don't touch any surfaces with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's going to scorch the whole house.
Whole house.
Dude, only you can prevent forest fires.
Yeah, don't bring the matchstick key anywhere near wood. Holy shit.
Smokey the Bear will hate you. So will Australia.
Let's talk about the dad, because I really liked his character and the whole backstory as to how he died and why he died and what happened. I was fascinated by that, and that was the driving force to me powering through the show as quick as I did, because I was like, they felt like bite-sized episodes leading up to that flashback. And I thought all that stuff was so well done. Mm-hmm. Especially like Kinsey's like PTSD from it. Like all of those.
That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Just
her reliving that, especially
Tyler
in her
too.
head.
Tyler too. Like,
well, and like,
and the guilt that character felt.
Yeah, thinking the entire time that your dad was dead because of something you said, like an offhanded comment.
Yeah, that made me upset because I make offhanded comments all the time.
Me too. Not about like my parents.
So I was like, oh shit, I should watch who I'm saying that shit to.
No.
He could actually decide to murder his dad one day and then be like, I've come to collect. And you're just like, whoa, kidding.
Yeah. I don't know, but
yeah, I think the dad was really one of the better characters in the show, even though we only got him in flashbacks. He had impeccable hair.
Well, it's
beautiful hair.
It's the Netflix version of Keanu Reeves.
Okay,
all right.
I also kind of thought
family friendly.
In passing,
Keanu.
He looked like that dude from Lost a little bit.
Yeah, Josh Holloway.
Yeah.
Sawyer. Yeah. Okay.
I was like,
yeah.
He looks like the great value version of that guy. That's cool.
That's amazing. No, I thought
I'm sure
he was
would
good.
take that compliment.
I thought he was good. I really enjoyed his character a lot.
Yeah.
Like kind of unwrap it. Like that was one of the better mysteries of the show, was having to unwrap where we went with this. And then you meet that kid's dad.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, he's a total piece of shit. I actually do feel bad for this kid.
Yeah.
Well, then everybody makes their choices. Maybe I don't feel bad for him. And then you're like, ah, damn it, I do really feel bad for him.
Because he's just one of those, like, weak people who's, like, easily manipulated because, like, he just wants to be cared about. And he, like, you know what I mean? Like,
desperate.
But, and then can we just, like, talk about, like, how freaking, like that painting or that artwork of the well house and, like, Echo, Dodge, whatever, like, speaking...
Dude, that was
first
creepy
to
as fuck.
Sam, like in Rendell's office, and then later speaking to who was it, Bodhi?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like
super fucking creepy, and it was only because it was in pictures, which I was like, but how?
So now we have magic Harry Potter art. Like, how does that work?
How can the demon or whatever be aware whenever someone's looking at a photo of the thing it's stuck in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't clearly
the rules of that. And the weirdest thing about it is that when I was a kid, I thought all of the pictures that I had were if the person in the photo assumed the same position, they could see me.
Whoa.
So then, yeah, that was a fucked up thought that I always had. These are the things that hold me back in life. And then to see this happen where it's like a picture of the house, and because the well house is on there, she like pops up, her actual face pops up in the artwork. I was like, oh, it's real. It's so fucking real.
Yeah, like, and it's like, is that part of like that whole like Echo key thing? I don't know. Like that again, it wasn't explained, and it's like,
no,
you know, like Rendell never told his family about his freaking giant mansion, but he has this artwork of his house.
Imagine having 3 kids with a person that you've married and feel like you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and then when he dies, you find out his childhood home is this a massive estate in New England.
Right?
You'd be like,
And
I
then
guess I really didn't know him.
Why were
he
we
never
scrounging for dollars to pay our fucking mortgage?
in Seattle, no less, which is a very expensive place to live.
And yeah.
Also, what do you mean 3 of his best friends died and he never told me?
He was just trying to forget, you know? I'd rather you didn't talk about it.
I hope season 2 is that he had another family. And they find out about the keys and something about how echoes can't take keys from locks or something like that. I don't know. None of that was ever explained to me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the echo just couldn't grab the key. It had to be handed to it or something.
But again, like, one, who fucking made the keys? Who freaking, what is behind the Omega door? Like, who made that? Like, did Jesus make that? Like, was there some bad, like, science experiment that went wrong and all of a sudden, we just blew a hole into the who knows where?
It's just another dimension.
Only
seemingly.
a handful of people know about this other dimension. You don't have any other raving lunatics talking about it, being like, there's another world under the cavern. Like,
but you can understand why that would drive someone absolutely insane and need to go back.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. But it's just like, I was just like, what is that? Like, obviously, like, I get that the echoes are from there. And then it's like, well, you know, I'm assuming Ellie just, like, died when she went through there. Or is she going to be
disintegrated?
We could only hope.
Or is she going to become an echo? Or poor Rufus.
Yeah.
Also, who names their son Rufus?
He was adopted.
That's like the name for like a little scruffy mutt.
Yeah, that is the name of most. That's a very common dog name.
It's like
and a
naming
very
your
not
child
common human
Spot.
name.
Or like a naked mole rat.
Or Fido.
Kim Possible. You know.
Yeah, this is my adopted autistic son Fido. There's no commentary there.
Exactly.
Oof.
I felt really bad for Rufus.
I did like Rufus.
I
I felt
cool.
bad for him.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he's in Nebraska now with his uncle. He's probably much better off since he doesn't have to like do physical labor or something.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's the child. Like, I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he's like, I wouldn't even say he's 20. Like, come on now.
No.
He's just, he's the caretaker of this sprawling estate that by himself. He's got access to bear traps.
This is like a prequel to like the Munsters, and he's going to be like their Frankenstein butler guy.
The whole series takes place in his head.
Like,
he imagines the whole thing.
Like,
dude, as soon as Dodge wakes up in the cavern while they're throwing her into the thing, and she's like, wait, Tyler, I knew it was Ellie, and I was like, good. And I watched as she fell. I did not like her character at all. At all. She did not act like a normal, rational human being.
Or
mother gym teacher.
Yeah, I'm part-time. So I could take care of Rufus. Rufus is the only person taking care of this giant, like, plot of overgrown land. Like, I go visit my parents in suburbia, and there's 4 yard workers working on one 4,000 square foot house on a half acre.
And they hand this kid a fucking rake.
They're like,
figure it out.
Here you go. Are we even paying you?
It's for college credits. I don't know.
It's an unpaid internship.
Yeah.
Poor Rufus.
One of the keys that I thought I would like a lot and wound up not caring for at all because it didn't wind up doing anything was the mirror key.
Yeah. What the fuck was the point of that?
That fucking concept could have been awesome. And they'd never explain. The only explanation of it is that it's the prison of the self. It can lock your enemies in it. And Dodge explains that to Bodhi. That's the only explanation of it. But, like, huh?
And how did they find out that's what that is? Who did they lock in there?
And who?
Well, there were skeletons in there.
Yeah, but I'm
Lots
saying,
of them.
like, who did these kids use that for?
Or was
Right.
it, I mean, people,
How
or
did
was
they
it
find out
people of
about
the
it?
past? Because we don't know
But,
how
like,
old these keys are.
What is the, like, what possible function could it, like, when you're casting the key and you're pouring it into the key mold and it's taking form and you're like, we're going to enchant this one with the power to be stuck in mirrors and kill your fucking enemy. Like,
God damn it, I hate Narcissus. Like, what do you, like,
it's like a very specific person you're going after with that one.
Steve from accounting.
But it was super cool that, like, they were split from their original self and it was always like,
Yeah, but like that even happened in a totally different mirror that didn't have the key in it. Was that with Kinsey?
I think the key was in a mirror.
Oh, it was
and
left
that
in there?
Activates all the mirrors?
Just in the vicinity?
But then there was that one scene where I think it was Kinsey who was just walking by a mirror and she saw her other self, and it's like, well, she didn't stick the key in the keyhole. She didn't go into the mirror like her brother did and her mother did.
Well, the reflection always it has that crazy smile and is beckoning you in, regardless of whether you've gone into it or not.
But but it doesn't matter then what mirror it is. Like if I put the mirror key in that keyhole in Key House and then I'm at like the Gap or something.
No, I think it activates the mirrors in the house. I think. It wasn't explained. But they also...
The Gap, like, what?
She wanted to make sure it was a store nobody's been to in 20 years.
Do they still exist?
I think so.
I used to
Well,
buy,
maybe not
Not
now
right
because of
now.
coronavirus.
I used to buy jeans there.
But I think... But also, like, there wasn't a specific keyhole for that key. It just presented itself on mirrors as if it were some sort of crazy alien, super futuristic technology. As the key approached the mirror,
Okay.
it would, like...
Well, it would do that with the necks, too.
Yeah,
Right,
okay,
and,
so like that was
Yeah.
so that was a non-specific one, whereas I'm pretty sure so like was the ghosty key, did that one like needed to be in that specific door?
That door only.
And then there was the like with the cabinet, that one needed to be at the okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
They didn't
and
really
then
explain these things.
I'm assuming the flower key only has Duncan's memories, and you could only use it on that tree. But it's not exactly specific in that there's probably some other memories buried on the property on different trees.
Or can it only hold so many memories, and then if you want to bury your own memories, that person gets their memories back?
Or you have to pay more for more cloud storage.
99 cents a month isn't much.
If only I had a fucking flower key is all I'm saying.
Damn it.
So, any final thoughts on Lock and Key Season 1?
There's a lot to unpack. I think it's definitely worth at least one watch. But I'm hopeful for Season 2 to get more of the mythology, because the mythology of the show is what was really cool. But they spent more time doing other things, like having the popular girl get attacked by the physical embodiment of the other girl's fear, like twice, for jump scares. But they could have been doing other things. But I really liked it. Like, I was telling everybody about it because I enjoyed it enough.
I'm hoping that we have very similar thoughts. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't mind watching it like through a second time because, you know, there were some things that I missed. It's one of those shows that you can kind of just put on to watch or as background, like, and I don't mean that as disrespect. There's a lot of TV shows that I put on as background because I don't get bored with it. But
The Office is fantastic background TV.
What is?
The Office.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Perfect background TV.
So was the X-Files.
Oh shit. Okay.
But I'm really hopeful that maybe with season 2, because it's been approved for season 2. I don't know how COVID-19 is going to affect filming things, but
Shut it down.
what?
That's it. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
That's all it's doing.
I'm hoping that, like, besides like exploring more of the mythology, maybe they'll like take it a step over a little bit to the line of more horror, especially now that we're going to be dealing with 2 echoes. And you know, this will be the first time where the kids are experiencing one of their friends, because I mean, if we're being honest, nobody really liked Eden except for Jackie. But you know, it's kind of dealing with that, and then, you know, is Kinsey gonna figure out that Gabe isn't real? I don't know. So like, I'm definitely gonna watch season 2 when it comes out, and I'm just hoping that maybe they take it a little bit like further with the background. You know, give us a flashback. I'd watch it.
I hope it's just not like once upon a time. Like, I don't want that.
It's
that
gonna open with a piece, like a book,
a story,
and then a gorilla is gonna be turning the pages.
Omega Key, who is buried beneath. Like, it's gonna be this crazy fucking.
And Zeus came down from the heavens.
So I agree with you guys. I feel kind of the same way. I'm in for season 2. Season 1 was good. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't perfect, but it's a Netflix show for 10 episodes starring mostly kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not that big of a deal. It's a good show. It's worth the watch. I wish everybody just, like, was honest with one another, because a lot of problems would have just been completely avoided if everyone was just like, hey, there was this lady in the well, and the photo showed back up at the top.
Yeah.
Don't know what that's about.
Nobody knows.
There are so many so many shows that would have been over really quickly if people were just like, hey,
Yeah.
this happened and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now-
Like, it would have been, oh, thank you. Credits.
Yeah.
Now, Jordan, there's something like that you said, just like about it being like a Netflix show and kind of like what you expect from Netflix. It just got me thinking. I'm like, holy shit, what if HBO did this? I would watch the fuck out of an HBO Lock and Key.
Yeah. Because HBO, well, I mean, Netflix has a ton of fucking money too.
That's true.
Oh, no, I know. I just meant because they'd probably take it dark.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's
HBO.
well,
'Cause it's
technically
HBO.
Netflix is.
Although
I
there'd
think
probably be a
Netflix
lot
just-
more weird teen sex, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I think Netflix kind of just lets creators
Do what?
do what they want with it.
Oh, yeah.
Where HBO's kind of all up in your shit. Like,
True.
let's do this now.
Yeah.
You know, completely off topic, but HBO is the reason that Westworld isn't in its park anymore,
I
because
still
they're
haven't
trying to
seen
cut the cost
Westworld.
of that show. Like, it was a huge budgetary cut to that show for season 3, which is why it's not where it used to be, because it was very expensive apparently to do it where they did it.
So, thank you everybody for listening. This has been episode 38 of Pop Cannon.
Did you double check?
I had to
He
double
had to
check.
look
I looked.
down. I saw
Yeah.
that.
It's been a long day.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you would like to listen to more, make sure you subscribe on all of your favorite platforms. We're on a plethora of them.
Ooh, nice vocab word.
Thank you. Thanks. If you would like to follow us, go ahead, do that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, probably MySpace. What are some other social networks? I don't even...
Tumblr.
Foursquare,
Four,
Live Journal,
yeah.
4chan.
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 But just go ahead and follow us at Pop Cannon. Don't forget the K.
Extra special.
Yeah.
The K is for key. The pop cannon key. It unlocks all of our episodes when you plug it into your nose.
If you would like to follow us individually, I, Jordan, can be found on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS.
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Yesball.
Yes. I am on Instagram only. It's Serendipity, so I used to have a Twitter. I don't know.
Let us know
that
what
the name?
you thought of Lock and Key. And until next time, we'll see you when we see you. I guess.
I'll see if there's another Stephen King or Joe Hill thing out.
Is that
If
a
there's
thing
another
now?
Stephen King adjacent thing with children.
Is that a thing? Like she's only allowed on during those circumstances?
I mean, it's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
We're just going
We
by
gotta
past
figure out another
practice.
thing. We got to figure out another thing to get Sarah on with and break that cycle.
We'll do it. We'll make it happen. We'll make it
Just
happen.
do it.
Sarah, thank you as always for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It sure has.
And I don't mean that sarcastically.
All right. Something Lock and Key.
Yeah, Netflix.
Woo-hoo.